So this story involving, I guess we would say, former UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka is it's a doozy over here. So he's not going to play the remainder of this season. So if you play more than 4 games, like that burns a year, right? So you see this in college football where guys will play 3-4 games and then they'll not play anymore, and that preserves a year of eligibility. And so that's what the former UNLV quarterback is doing. But the reason is a lot different. He said the school promised him $100,000 if he transferred to UNLV. And he's like, haven't seen that money. So guess what? I'm out of here. I'm gone. And this has been quite the story throughout the entire week. And you had UNLV. They made their statement of, hey, we abide by the NCAA's rules, and this sounds like pay for play, and we're not doing that. It's just been a whole situation here. For what it's worth, the father of this quarterback, he told Pete Thamel that the head coach of UNLV, Barry Odom, said in a phone call that it was an assistant coach who made this offer. So it wasn't a valid offer because it didn't directly come from the head coach. And here we are. There are a lot of people that are saying this is the college version of a holdout. Like, hey, pay me this money or I'm not playing. And you could see more and more of this going forward. Some people look at this as just flat out quitting. And is it worth it? If you were promised $100,000, some people say, well, pay up. And everything's all good. Others look at that and say, are you really benefiting by walking away? You're 3-0. You beat Houston. You beat Kansas. Those are Big 12 teams. Are you just walking away? You're closing up shop here? So quite the story. I'm curious what you guys think about this. I'll let you weigh in. Start with you, Rich. What do you say about this whole thing?
If there's a contract and the contract isn't honored, well, guess what? In a service industry, the service shouldn't be rendered. This is what this is now. You are paying for play. NIL is no different than me hiring a contractor to do a renovation on my house. Okay, so this guy, he hasn't done major residential projects. Maybe he was a subcontractor for a while, but really successful doing bathrooms, kitchen remodels. And all of a sudden, I bid him for a bigger job, and I say, hey, I want you to renovate my whole home. But then when he shows up and he begins working, where, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, a quarter of the way through the progress, I've only give him a tiny percentage of what I owe him, and the agreement says that I owe him far more at this point. If the numbers are accurate, what's being reported is he's been paid $3,000 of what's supposed to be a $100,000 deal. Quarter of the season in, if we want to talk about it like paychecks, he's owed $25,000. So if I'm a contractor and I've only just gotten my beak wet with $3,000 and I'm owed $25,000, I'm laying my hammer down, I'm laying my tool belt down, and I'm saying, hey, until you pay me what you told me you were going to pay me to this point, the services are no longer going to be provided. So, look, I understand it feels distasteful because this used to be amateur athletics. You have to let all that go because this is now professional athletics. If we found out that a team wasn't paying their starting quarterback in the NFL, we would be attacking the team, not the player.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that I don't know the answer to is, was there really something in writing? Because right now it's kind of UNLV saying, we didn't really offer him this. And Sluka saying, you told me you did. I thought you did. That's why I came here. The report that I think at the end of the day, both parties will kind of come out looking a little bit dinged up here. Because if you're Sluka's side, you got to get it in writing. If you're UNLV side, you can't have assistant coaches going over to Holy Cross and saying, hey, dude, come on over. We're going to pay you the big bucks out here in Vegas, and then not pay the big bucks. So which side's telling the truth? I don't know. You know how these court proceedings go. It's going to get – I'm sure there will be some kind of comeuppance for one side. The moral of the story here is UNLV's got to play a football game this week.
Right.
Like the show business keeps going on. The show must go on. And that's the part that intrigues me the most because – I think the backup, Malik Williams, looks just as good. And he almost won the job in camp. And the number kind of said, well, UNLV is going to have a big downgrade now. That's not what I heard from the locker room this week. I heard there was an uproar from the locker room this week when Sluka said his farewell. So my guess is he's probably been going around saying, hey, man, where's my money? And the whole team knows it. And this kind of stuff rips apart teams. This is a different level of college football than we are at an advanced plane of consciousness of college football. If you don't think every single person in every locker room knows what every NIL deal is for all their buddies, they're all talking about it. Right, Rich? And I know this wasn't part of your era, but when you guys got like perks or something was going on, like that stuff swirls around the locker room very quickly. It's a small thing. Like, everyone probably knew what was happening. And I bet there's players on both sides of this.
Like for example, Jared, to your point, you would hear about, and this was in the age of you're not supposed to do these types of things, but you would hear whispers and rumblings that this Ohio State player, that Michigan player got some special incentives. You know, somebody's driving a car they're not supposed to. Things like that, right? You know, so you're right. We are at a whole different plane of existence now in college football. It's all changed. But you know what? The truth is, it's kind of all been this way.
Right.
It's just more the breadth of the issue, how far this reaches is much wider.
It's like prohibition. They were drinking anyways.
Well, that's
they were underground.
Everybody was speeding. Now there's really no speed limit. It's the Autobahn, right? That's where we're at in college football. But this is the thing is, real fast, this is a horrible look for UNLV. In this day and age, the NIL era, and you're the school that looks like you promised $100K and you didn't pay up. Really, like you couldn't have a more. We always talk about negative recruiting. Other schools competing with UNLV for recruits, and they don't have to do anything now. You can say to a recruit, "You want to go there?" They promise you the moon and the stars, and they don't deliver. Come here, we deliver, right? Like that's. Can you imagine some of these transfers? Right, you had this transfer with Matt Sluka. Imagine if Will Howard at Ohio State had the same thing to say this week. Or Riley Leonard at Notre Dame. Can you imagine a story where Riley Leonard was like, yeah, the assistant promised me $100K. I haven't gotten any of that. Or I've
the end of Notre Dame football.
Like, how does that happen? And this, I understand UNLV is not on the same level, but it's an FBS program that certainly has $100K
Brian,
if they promised $100K.
You nailed it. You nailed it. It's like Walmart or some big corporation. You sell the 50-cent Pepsi up front in the front of the store. You're going to lose your ass on Pepsi because you're not even making your dollars back for that. But guess what? You'll take the loss leader to get people in the stores.
Yes.
You know, so that's what you got to do here. Okay, I get it. You don't like it. Maybe you feel like his dad or the player, they're fudging things a little bit. Well, we didn't quite promise it. We said we'd try. But he's 3-0. The program's rolling right now. You had a great start last season with the debut season of the head coach. Like, let's just pay the $100,000 and be done with this.
Yes. It's better. You're better off that way in the long run. You just look like cheapskates now.
Yeah.
Great job, UNLV. The cheapest university, we promise, and don't deliver. That's not where you want to be in the NIL era.